Welcome to the sweet pea patch. So it's hard to believe that this space was just glorious and overflowing with fragrant flowers and just like this rainbow of color just a couple of weeks ago, because now it just looks like this ratty, tattered, messy space that in a way, if you didn't know the bounty that lies ahead, you would just want to rip this all out. But this is actually the most exciting time of the growing season, at least for me, because this is the part of the year that we actually get to collect seeds. So sweet peas, they have all of these wonderful qualities as a cut flower. They're fragrant, they're nostalgic. The more you pick them, the more they bloom. They thrive in cool, wet conditions like ours here in Washington. And they're just like a really beautiful, wonderful, old-fashioned flower to grow in your garden. But one of the coolest things about them that a lot of people don't know is how easy they are to save your seeds from. I think they are the perfect beginning crop for a budding seed saver to try their hand at, because they're really easy to tell when they're ripe. And also, they're self-pollinating. So even if you grow multiple varieties of sweet peas in your garden, if you save the seeds off of one particular plant, they're going to actually come back true, which is unusual in the flower world. So today I thought it would be really fun to take you through the process of how we harvest sweet pea seeds here on the farm. I'm going to show you the different stages and when you're going to want to pick them for the perfect ripe seed, how to harvest them, how we dry them and clean them, and then how to store them long term. One of the most important things that you're going to want to keep in mind, and this is kind of the hardest part of the whole thing when it comes to saving sweet pea seed, you're going to have to leave some of the flowers on the plant in order to get seeds. So you're going to have to kind of like sacrifice some of the flowers that you might want to cut and bring inside. You got to leave them on the plant because that's the only way that you're going to get seed. So from full bloom like this all the way to a mature seed pod takes about 2 months. So kind of earlier in the season, I'd say maybe halfway through the glorious bloom, you're going to want to leave at least a few plants that you don't pick from, or stop picking off of a section if you want to be able to collect seed. So it starts out, you'll see you've got your beautiful sweet pea flower. Then eventually as they get pollinated and they ripen, the flowers are going to start to get kind of tattered and like the petals will wither and fall off. And then little tiny seed pods are going to emerge out of that. Then they're going to start to plump up and ripen. They'll start to turn green and get bigger like this. And then they'll get even bigger like this. Now, this is one of the things that you've got to watch out for. It can be really easy to want to pick the seed at this stage. So you can see that there's seeds starting to form in there. It's nice and plump, like it looks like it's ready to harvest, but you've got to don't let yourself do it and just leave it on the plant, because it's got to mature a little bit more. And you're going to watch that green pod is going to then transition into kind of a golden yellow and eventually to brown. And this is actually the stage that we are going to pick our sweet peas at. Not this stage, because if we pick it too early, even though the seeds inside are nice and plump and look good, they're not actually ripe enough to be viable and they won't grow a plant. So we want to leave it. We want to keep being patient. This is actually the stage that we want to pick. And then one thing to keep in mind is that if you wait too long with your sweet peas on a hot day, you'll find that the pods will split open and they'll fling their seeds around the garden. And you can see they get kind of twizzly like this. So we want to catch them when they're nice and brown and ripe and crispy, but before they flung their seeds out onto the ground. This is going to be the easiest way, I think, to understand it. So this really was a light bulb moment for me. So we've cracked open one of each of the different color pods so you can see. So a green pod, while it might look tempting to want to pick this, inside the pod you can see that the seeds are still very immature and green. We've got a golden pod here, and again, that can be tempting to want to pick this. But look inside, the seeds are starting to ripen. They're going from that kind of greenish gold to brown, but they're not quite ready. So you want to resist the urge. Do not pick it here. This is our ideal stage. So we're going to wait till the pod turns that kind of papery brown. And then inside you can see we've got those beautiful kind of chocolate dark black seed pods. That is the perfect stage to pick. And then you can also pick at this stage, but the problem is on those hot days when your seed pods fling open, if you don't catch them in time, you might only have 1, 2, 3 seeds or even none left. So this is the ideal stage. Or like from this side of the board over, you can pick. These guys are still too young. You want to leave those on the plant so that they can fully mature. The ideal time to pick your sweet peas is definitely in the morning when it's still kind of damp and if you have morning fog or it's kind of dewy, because these ripe brown pods are going to stay closed. But once it starts to get warm and sunny and hot outside, like it's starting to now, these brown pods are going to want to open up and fling their seed around the garden. So I've got to get on picking these guys. So normally morning is the best time. But I'm just going to be going down the rows and I'm looking for these beautiful brown seed pods. I want to make sure that I'm not picking the green ones. And then I can just like simply pull them off of the plant. You can either snip them with your snips or you can pull them with your hand. And then I like to carry along a bin. This is like a basic white plastic bin. You can also use a paper grocery bag, like whatever you have handy. And then I just carry it along and pop those guys off. Like, it's super easy. You want to be careful that you're not just yanking the plant, because you'll find that you'll pull the vine like out of the ground, and so just be a little bit careful. But you can just go down the row and look for the brown pods. Like, it's super easy. But I also like to just stick the bin on the ground and just pick and drop into it. And then the cool thing about the plastic bin is you can just push it with your foot and it'll slide down. So just being careful with the plants, nice and firm, but you can see I've got these beautiful brown pods. Don't be tempted and take the green ones. We're just sticking with the brown. I have to keep telling myself that because I still want to pick the green ones even after all these years. So I've made my way up and down both of the rows and I've picked everything that's ripe. Now, if the weather is hot and dry, you're probably going to need to pick twice a week because you're going to want to catch those pods at the perfect stage, but before they've opened and flung their seeds around the garden. But if it's kind of cooler and a little bit more damp, probably once a week is plenty. But we're harvesting sweet peas for up to a month. So this is something that you can just keep coming back and going over and trying to catch those pods at the perfect stage. So now that I've got them all picked, I'll show you how we dry them. Okay, so we are inside one of our big greenhouses, and this is where we start all of our seeds in the spring. And in the summer and the fall, we turn this space into seed drying, like a big chamber. And you can see we've got all different kinds of seeds laying out on the table in here. It's so cool. Now, when you're picking a spot to dry your seeds, you just want to make sure that it's hot and dry. So it could be an attic, it could be in front of some big windows if you have a greenhouse, just really anywhere that's like dry and hot, that's what you're going for. And with sweet peas in particular, you of course want a warm space, but you've got to get these guys covered or in some type of bag pretty much immediately after you harvest them, because once it gets warm and dry, they're going to want to pop open and throw their seed, and they'll throw it all over this greenhouse. So you can use, if you like a paper grocery sack, you can pour your seeds into that and fold over the edge, or we like to use these mesh bags. They're called fruit bags. They're really inexpensive, and what I like about them is that they've got this, they're very breathable. You can see through them, and you can use them year after year. So I'm just gonna take my sweet peas and carefully pour them into the bag and try not to spill them. This is the hardest part. This is usually a two-person job. Woo! So I'm just gonna struggle on my own. Okay. So I've got them in my bag. And then the next most important thing that you're gonna wanna do is label them. This can be so easy to skip this step, and trust me, you're gonna be very frustrated later when you find a bag of seed, you don't remember when you did it, what it is, and you can't really identify it. So just immediately, like, next step is to label it. So I like to take, of course you wanna put the date on there and write down what it was, and it could be the location. So I'm gonna put Cutting Garden, sweet peas, and I picked off of every vine out there. I didn't keep my varieties separate, so I'm just gonna say Cutting Garden Mix. And then I'm gonna attach it. Now, if you're using like a paper grocery sack, you can just write on the bag and then just attach it. And then the great thing about this is you can just sort of like lay them out to dry. And here is a bag that we cut a couple of weeks ago. So you can see in here, all of these pods have started to like fling and twizzle open, and all of the seed, look at all that beautiful sweet pea seed, it's just falling to the bottom of the bag. That's what's so cool about these bags, is because you can see it and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this bounty. But you can see this is one that was picked a few weeks ago. And then here, these are still closed up, but these will do this as soon as they get warm and dry. All right, so these guys I'm gonna leave to dry for another week or two, but these ones are ready and we can actually do the fun part. So I'm just taking my white bin that I started with. You hear all those seeds? It's so exciting. So I'm just dumping them into the bin, and the goal here is to separate the seeds from the shells, and a lot of them already have. They've popped open and flung them out, but you'll find that a bunch of them have twizzled up and there's like a seed or two still in there. So you can just go through, like on a larger scale, we put them through a chipper shredder, or you could step on them, or you could, like get more rough with them. But for the home scale, you can just go pod by pod, check that there's not anything trapped inside, and then if there is, you just kind of run your finger along. So I have a second bin I'm just putting my trash into, but I'm just gonna check every one of these guys. And it's pretty relaxing and fun. And every one of these, a couple of seed pods, sometimes if you get a really good pod, it's equal to a packet of seeds. So this process of learning how to save your own seeds is gonna save you a ton of money in the long run. And you can actually grow your own. You don't ever have to buy sweet peas again unless you want a new variety. So you're gonna have more sweet peas than you can even imagine just from even a little patch. You will have probably 100 packets worth. It's going to be kind of scary in a really good way. Okay, so I just keep going through all of these guys, and then just kind of tossing it sort of like pasta. Putting the shells in the other bin. Okay, here is the moment of glory. So we've still got a little bit of crud in there. I've got a couple of dead petals, that kind of thing that I can just pick off. But all of those seeds, look at that. That's just from one picking. Like all of these gorgeous, beautiful sweet peas. Isn't that amazing? And I'm gonna keep picking and picking for another month. So just imagine how many seeds I'm gonna end up with in the end. So you can go through and pick out all the dead petals and debris, but I don't want to take forever. So I'm just going to show you how to bag these guys. So you can use a Ziploc bag, you can use a paper bag, you can use a glass canning jar, just anything that you have handy. But once these guys are clean and dry, we're just going to put them into a bag, and then I've got to make sure, got to label it. So again, I'm going to write the date and the year, because that is always really helpful. And I'm going to go sweet peas, cutting, garden, mix. There are so many baggies of mystery seed when I didn't used to label things, and it is so frustrating. So trust me, just label your bag before you even put the seed in it, okay? Now, Eric would be horrified because I'm not cleaning these all the way. So you can clean yours a little bit more, but that's pretty much all there is to it. So we're gonna get the air out of the bag. We're gonna zip it up. And then these guys are ready to store. So sweet peas can last an incredibly long time. If you want to store them in a deep freezer, chest freezer, or your home freezer, they've been known to last up to 10 years. So this is something you could grow a big crop of, and then plant your new sweet peas every season. But you don't have to save seeds every year if you don't want to, because they last so well. But if you don't want to store them in the freezer, just put them in a cool, dry place. Be sure to store them in some kind of container if you have mice or rats, because mice love sweet peas, where the critters can't get in. And that's really all there is to it. So I hope this was helpful, and you get out into your garden and you save some sweet peas, because it couldn't be easier, and it's so much fun to grow them again yourself and then share them with people you love.